Good morning, everyone. Welcome to another entire breakfast. We are Raivis and Sergey, and we're very happy to see you here to talk about AI. This is our essentially third episode of talking about AI in the past year, but I think it is well deserved. And it always provokes quite a lot of interest. There are some new things that have definitely appeared. There are some trends that we will outline. And generally today we will talk about how AI is entering the corporate world and what you need to do to be prepared for this as the L&D leader or HR manager or anyone in the position to help out your colleagues to kind of adapt to this change. So
let's begin.
Yeah, couple of household items. First of all, this meeting is being recorded. This recording will be available on YouTube channel for Intel Learning. Feel free to share it with anyone or rewatch and subscribe to that channel, of course. And for the duration of this meeting, everyone is on mute, but please do feel free to find the chat button and type something in there. This will be as interactive as you want it to be. Your first task for this is to type a plus in chat if you can actually hear and see us, and also if you have found that chat button. So please do that. Let's talk about what you need to do to prepare for AI imminent entry into corporate world, and how to help your colleagues to be prepared as well. A couple of words about Inte for those who have just joined. This is a recurring bi-weekly event, but if this is the first time for you, then essentially Inte is an e-learning development company which tackles any business challenge related to online training and development, from consultancy and systems implementation to actually developing content, working on some technical tasks, media production, and even support for your learners. If you have a large LMS and a large number of learners that needs to be supported, we have an excellent support department here that can work with you. We work with a lot of customers, mostly corporate, mostly in Europe. So if you're interested in any of that, do get in touch. At info@Intel, I suppose.
Yeah.
Or secret for those who are here, Raivis's email is rf, like Raivis Freimanis at Intel. So pester him directly.
Don't tell anyone else.
Right. So the big news, I think, since we had our last breakfast is Sora. In chat, let me know who has seen Sora or who at least knows what Sora is. Just say, yep, I know, or say yes, or say nope, have never heard of Sora yet, but you will very soon.
Nope. Yes. So yeah, some have, some haven't.
Yes, right. As expected. So essentially, Sora is a product of OpenAI. OpenAI is the mother of ChatGPT and kind of the company in this space right now. And what Sora does, it turns text prompts into videos. Right now, it's a limited access product, but just like ChatGPT was initially. And soon it will be available to everyone. So essentially you type what you want to be in the video and it generates you a video. And I have a couple of examples for you just to kind of dazzle everyone. So the first one, the prompt was something like a fashion woman walking through night streets of Tokyo. That's essentially all you need to say. And you can see how that person is kind of perfectly animated, all the fingers are in place, the face is ideal, the camera movement is ideal. What I always enjoy is the persistency of the background. So for example, when a person who was on the left is hidden behind the human figure and it does not kind of stop existing, it appears in the next frame on the right hand side and so on. It does a little cut, it does a little bit of montage and so on. It's totally crazy, and it's unedited, so it's the exact output from the AI. So you say 5 words of what you want it to be, and it create something for you. Of course, if you are being very, very nitpicky, you will find some details which don't look realistic. But I think if you compare it to what was available like a year ago, that's beyond any expectations. It can do multiple styles. It can do animations. Of course, it's easier with animations because your human eye is not as picky for small mistakes in how it's rendered. It's quite amazing that even the letters which AI typically struggles with are okay in there. It's equally good with animals and whatnot. I think even again because we as humans we don't judge animals as hard as we judge other humans, like subconsciously. It looks even better. So same thing doesn't need to have an object. There is Santorini. I don't know if you've been to Santorini. I haven't. I have to go to Santorini.
Neither have I, but everybody. I mean,
everybody
a lot
knows.
of people recognize
yes.
this.
But I don't think that it's actual real Santorini. It's just it's generated from prompt something like Santorini at night, 4K drone flying footage, and it just does it. Same thing for this probably Swiss train, which to me looks like absolutely perfectly created. And this is actually archive footage of California during the gold rush. And if you see there's little detail of this torn frame at the bottom of the movie, which just comes in and out. So like it's an old film and it's stylized perfectly and it's animated perfectly. And of course, it couldn't have been real because obviously it's a drone flying through California during gold rush. But so it's totally limitless, and we can only speculate how it will revolutionize media production and whether we should trust our eyes any longer. But we'll talk about this. So that's one kind of big piece of news. Another one, not as big, but kind of still very prominent, is that artificial intelligence is now part of all business products, essentially. I've picked two. Google Suite now offers Gemini built in. I've just signed up for the trial. And essentially, if previously Gmail was very good at finishing your sentences, kind of like your best friend.
Yeah.
Now it's very good at writing full emails. You just tell it what to write about, it just does it. Like you receive an email and it says, what do you want me to write? And you say, tell them a polite no, and bang, you get a perfectly worded email with all the reasoning why you don't want to be engaged into this activity. Microsoft Office has a similar thing called Copilot, which it inserts itself basically in every product and helps you write, format, create, remember functions, and so on. Again, everything is based on the same large language models that we've seen in ChatGPT. Basically, Microsoft is one of the big investors into OpenAI, so it's GPT-based, ChatGPT-based, or one of those. And Google is based on Gemini, previously known as Bard. I think Google likes to rename things. This is crazy. But now it's Gemini. And it's also pretty impressive. In a head-to-head comparison, I wouldn't say that one of them is definitely inferior, although all of them have certain biases. We'll talk about that in a sec. So expect this to be embedded into your Microsoft Teams pretty much as of now. Expect it to be embedded in your Google Productivity Suite if you use that right now, and in pretty much every business application that you use as well. Into Salesforce, if you're a developer, there's definitely a Copilot inside your development environment. If you are an artist or a creator, definitely it's in your corporate suite. So it's not just startups that you go to and have fun with, but it's inside your everyday serious, solid corporate products, and people will start using that unless you kind of forbid them. It's in Zoom, by the way, right? So there's Zoom Assistant available to everyone, does meeting summaries, key points from meetings, and so on and so on.
But if I'm in learning and development, so what?
Right.
Yeah.
So what?
Yeah, it's all nice. It's all very productive, very helpful. Means we have to do less training. If Excel can do stuff by itself, then we don't need an Excel training, right?
That's a good question. Do we need to do less training? Because I think we need to do more training at one point now, because we have new tools, new risks. We have new ways to mess up whatever we're doing. There are security risks coming with the new technology. There are ethical risks coming. There is just a question of productivity. A recent research, I don't have a chart here, but it showed like for the majority of American companies who have adopted AI in the last year, productivity has gone down.
I've seen that, yeah.
Because people, it's a loud heading. So I think it was on like Forbes and Economist and all the news. But the idea is that if you trust blindly the outputs from ChatGPT, for example, and you just forward them to your colleagues as answers, you will be in trouble really, really soon. If you allow Gemini to write your emails in your place, you will be in trouble really, really soon unless you reread them really carefully. What else? Yes, the amount of crap content being produced is incredible. Yes, and now when someone asks you to write, like as a manager, if I ask someone to prepare a report and that person creates something using ChatGPT, first of all, it's rather obvious, and secondly, it's not very useful in many, many cases. Sometimes it's too wordy because it's easy to go from 1 page to 20 pages because you invest like 1 minute in doing that. So for me, that was also like less productive in many, many cases. We struggled ourselves. For example, we wanted to move blogs to AI written, and we did, but it took us some time, and still there is human labor in that, or human creativity rather, in that, as kind of the axis of the whole AI thing. So yeah, as an HR person, if you are concerned with risks in the area of privacy or ethics, if you are concerned with things like corporate culture and job performance, those things can suffer, and they probably will suffer with the adoption of AI unless it's done smartly and controllably.
Yeah, it's like with cars. When those appeared on the streets, en masse, it was this is how people develop the rules for traffic rules, because at first nobody kind of control themselves for the speed limit. How do you turn? How do you do all the maneuvers on the road? So we are in this kind of situation. I think we've got those cars on the streets, but people don't really know how to use it.
Yeah, more or less the first traffic light appeared like years or maybe 20 years after the first car was invented. But also there is the other side of this coin. You can be overly cautious. I remember that there's this famous story of that in New York, in front of a car, there should have been a person with a red flag just walking, because cars were not faster than walking, but there was a person like walking in front of the car with a red flag, sort of signaling that there is a car coming and everyone should be cautious of it. So whether you want to be that person with a red flag walking in front of the AI revolution, it's up to you. But also letting it run wild probably is not a great idea. There should be some checks in place, like traffic lights, zebra crossings, and turn signals.
Yep.
I heard of them. I drive a BMW.
Really?
And the companies in this space, starting from the top, I know if you know about Josh Bersin, you should definitely. Josh Bersin is like the #1 speaker in the HR and L&D community. He runs one of the biggest consulting firms. They do great research, great webinars that we refer to a lot. And he has just launched, about like 2-3 weeks ago, launched the course called Certificate for Artificial Intelligence in HR. It costs like $40 a month per person. So if you want to grab it, do. I haven't yet, but we will. And I looked at the curriculum, at what they are discussing. I looked at a number of other courses, and for today, we came up essentially with a perfect course for AI literacy inside your company. So what we'll do right now is we will kind of outline these pillars of that course. There are 5 pillars, which I think is nice, and they are AI fundamentals, kind of the basics of what AI is at all. It's critical thinking, because this is absolutely crucial component to working with AI. We'll talk about AI security, we'll talk about AI ethics, and we'll talk about future of work. Or rather, we won't talk as much, because obviously if we wanted to do this course today, I would probably assign maybe 1 hour of learning at least to every pillar.
Per topic. Yeah.
So unless you have 5 hours and I have 5 hours and you have 5 hours right now, we will not do it right now. So essentially, it's an outline that we will share with you in a little bit more detail right now. And then it's up to you if you want to build this course yourselves, if you want to work with us on creating something like that, we would be super interested. Or if you're interested in maybe buying something off the shelf like that.
Yeah, and I mean, in any organization now, there's a discussion about AI, and we often complain that learning and development, we are kind of in a back seat in everything that happens in the company.
Yep.
So creating such a course or a program or addressing these issues from the learning and development perspective, I think is an ideal way to get into that, not the driver's seat probably, but at least in the first row. I mean, in contributing to what's going on with companies' products, processes, and what's not.
Yeah, we talk about grabbing a seat at the kind of high table,
yeah.
A lot. So this is your chance to, and this is kind of the fundamentals for what you would like to talk about, probably. So let's run through those pillars in order. So pillar 1 is about the AI fundamentals. So essentially, it's devoted to demystifying the technology. And the idea is that to a lot of people, AI looks like magic. Frankly, to me,
to everyone, it looks like magic.
To me, it looks like I think it might be magic, but I haven't taken the course.
Yeah.
So the idea is that to explain how it works, we actually have a breakfast on exactly that topic, where we explain how the magic happens, essentially, what the technology is based on, why these are called neural networks, what does it have to do with neuron and brain, whether it's a sentient machine that can think, or it's just a absolutely plainly stupid random words generator, or not so random words generator. We go in depth on that breakfast, so do find that. We'll probably attach it in the description to this video. Why this is a technology, and as every technology, it has potentials and limits. What those limits are, to give you an example, AI hallucinates sometimes, for example, and AI will always give you an answer, or almost always will give you an answer, and will do it with such confidence that you will not be able to tell whether whatever it is saying is true or not.
And even if you ask it, it will not be able to tell is it true or not. Yeah, it doesn't know.
Because it does not have a concept of knowledge. Essentially, just predicts the next word in a sentence, and that's it. So there's a lot of that. And we can also talk about types and applications of AI, because right now almost everything is called AI, which is a little bit confusing, and the technologies are not fundamentally, but quite different. We can talk about things like machine learning, neural networks, language models, artificial intelligence, strong and weak artificial intelligence, and so on and so on, and kind of learn to draw the border, or at least like a spectrum between something like a Terminator or HAL from a movie, and what we have right now, and what's being popularized by the press, and so on and so on. So that's pillar 1. I think it's fun. It's absolutely necessary that everyone in the company who has some involvement with AI knows what AI actually is and does not use it as magic. To give you an example, remember when computers appeared kind of in our daily life somewhere in 1990s? For a lot of people, they were essentially magic. For some people, they still are. And people use them without understanding how they work, and that can easily lead them into trouble. Like when they don't know what happens when you click something, when they are taken aback when you click something and it's not what it was last time, and they have no idea what to do with it. When it's very hard to troubleshoot anything because people cannot describe what they are seeing because they do not understand the elements of what they are looking at, and so on and so on. So it's the same with the AI, but it's harder because it kind of masks itself or masquerades
it's less
itself.
visual. It's much less visual. What's happening, right?
Yeah, and it pretends to be human on many levels.
Much better than a computer.
Yes. So it's important that it's not magic. Right. So another pillar of that is critical thinking. And as I mentioned, AI hallucinates a lot. Hallucinations means that it starts predicting words in a very kind of smartly sounding sentences and paragraphs and so on, but these are not facts or not. This is a hallucination. This is something completely wrong. For example, the companies that build AI are getting better at preventing this, and still you will get the harder the task you give it, the more chance it is that it will start hallucinating. You will give it, let's say, a mathematical task from your child's like 5th grade, and it will start solving it, and at one point the rectangle will become a triangle, and it will keep solving for a triangle like with full confidence. For example, I've tried it, I've seen it, and okay, I can tell it rectangle from triangle myself. But for example, if I ask it, can you write me a good summary of this article that I haven't read, and it writes me a summary, how do I know that the things it has written in the summary are actually in the article? Unless I read the article, which kind of defeats the purpose. So you have to be a little bit critical about that. Maybe you have to skim the article and then ask it to write a summary or something. Or you have to think critically about what you're reading and then ask yourself, like, really? Does it tell it that there? Well, let me find like where it tells that. And that's another problem. AI does not know. That's actually this one. AI does not know where what comes, right? It's getting better at this, but so far it struggles with attributing a fact that it kind of offers you to a specific source. It's very hard for it to kind of go and say that, I learned it from there. It just knows, or because it doesn't know, it just comes up with stuff. Again, data quality, input data quality is super important. We'll talk about biases real quick, but essentially if you train your AI on a data set and the data set is biased or not perfect or not full or contains erroneous information, you will get erroneous outputs from the LLM. It's like if you have typos in textbooks and you train children on those textbooks, when those children become engineers, they will probably not be great engineers. So it's about the input as much as about output. So you have to be very critical about like asking yourself, if I haven't trained this model, then who has? What did they use to train it? And so on. We already discussed like applications in HR when you're trying to do a recruitment through AI, for example, which kind of skims through CVs that people send and selects the best candidates automatically. Like, sounds great. But the question, where did it learn to do that? If it learned to do that in China or if it learned to do that in California, that might not be super relevant to you in Latvia or Finland or Germany. So you have to be aware of that, or vice versa, of course, if you're in America. Fact-checking, anything that AI tells you needs to be fact-checked, and problem-solving is another part. like AI does not think for you, and to problem solve, you need to use AI as a co-pilot, not as a uh, old wise man who you ask
Who
for
knows
answers
everything?
and knows everything, right? So again, it's a skill, and making informed decision just like that is not just asking AI, how does this work? Just like Googling for something does not guarantee that it's the best information, or reading something on social networks.
Yeah.
It's the same situation. If people are so trusting social networks and whatever is written in there, imagine how they will trust AI, or when AI starts writing through social networks and so on. They have to be trained for that ahead of time. Generally, there's a amazing quote called like ability to fact check is the literacy of 21st century. I
You attributed yourself for the lack of other sources.
So two things. First of all, I have no idea who said that, but it is such a nice thought. I know for a fact I couldn't
You
have
were not
said
the
that.
first.
I'm not the first, definitely.
Yeah.
So, but it's nice. Right. So third pillar, real quick, AI security. We talked about this previously. If you train people on AI fundamentals, you need to talk about AI security. You need to talk about common threats with AI, things like how AI assists in social engineering. There is about 2 weeks ago, there was a huge scandal when a finance manager in Hong Kong transferred $20 million to a number of anonymous accounts in Cayman Islands because his CEO told him to. And what happened actually, it was a group of people who pretended to be the CEO, but it's not like they wrote him an email and just said it. The guy demanded a video call with the CEO, and the CEO was on that call. And then there was another call with a full London team explaining the critical situation, why that money needs to be moved ASAP. And all those people were on the call, and the guy knew those people, and he had the call with them, and none of them were real. The voices were not real. The voice of the CEO was not real. Others reportedly did not speak, but they were present in the meeting. The faces were absolutely real. And it's not something that will happen soon. It's already happened. People have already lost a ton of money. So threats like getting access to information by pretending to be someone in writing, on the phone, on the video call, is crazy, and it's here. Things like spam publishing libel about your company, for example, right? Acting like prompting you to react to that, and others. There's a ton of things like AI assisted hacking through like networks and so on. There's privacy risks, of course, right? So whatever you give to AI, it will keep forever and use to learn and relearn, and probably will spew it out to someone else at some point. So you have to think about what you share with it. When you talk to it, you need to understand the strategies for mitigating the above risks. And also there is a thing about ethical hacking. A lot of people in your organization will want to break your AI just for fun, just to see if it can be broken. Just if you can, if you are bank A, someone will try to persuade your bank corporate AI to tell that bank B is the best bank ever and bank A is terrible, just for fun. Can I do that? They will do that. You need to understand how, and it's okay. It's good because you learned something. But you need to explain to people what to do with that before and after, because a hacker is a good thing if it's done ethically. So if you tell everyone before, for example, that's one of the principles, that you are going to do that, and you do that without disrupting their work, and then after you obtain some results, you share those results in a confidential and like prompt manner, and so on, instead of just taking the screenshot and posting it in a group chat or on Twitter saying, hey,
yeah, you loser.
losers. Yeah, you and your stupid AI. So yeah, the fourth pillar, we have five, I remind you, is ethics, right? We started talking about ethical hacking, but also ethics is about privacy. Like as an HR manager, is it ethical for you to share your employees' data with the world, right? Or is it ethical for you to fire 10% of your people based on AI assessment? If you feed CVs through a recruitment funnel and AI consistently removes people of a certain gender or race or origin or age or anything, because AI, because it's a fact that if you hire someone who is 70 years old, probably they will not stay with your company for the next 40 years as opposed to a 20-year-old, even if their skills are ideal, right? But is it ethical? Is it in line with your company policies? How do you go about that? Do you just let robots do the job and just kick those people out in assessments or in recruitment process? It's a big question. Biases. So again, back to training. AI is only as good as the data that it has been trained on. So, for example, if you fed it every picture on the internet, then it will be just as biased as every picture on the internet. For example, ChatGPT will always, if you ask it like, show me a businessman.
Yeah, it will be a white male wearing a suit.
A suit, yes. Yeah. Although, like, not every businessman looks like that. Not everyone is male. Not everyone is well, a business person, if you want to say it. If you ask, like, show me something like a poor person, that poor person will likely be black. And it's bad for America, but it's ridiculous here for Europe, for example, or in Latvia, where poor persons are not ethnically very much different from rich persons. And if you ask to do that, you will get a biased picture. Also, it amplifies biases that we are, because it kind of takes the bias that's inherent somewhere and does not think critically about that. Because when it generates you like 10 pictures of poor people that are all black or Hispanic, for example, it's your job as a human to stop and ask yourself, like, is it really true? Or is it really true here in Latvia or in Estonia, for example? And it will not do that for you. It will just produce 10 or 20 or 50 pictures, and even though in real life, like, for example, if you ask, like, can you, like, do me a picture of a soldier, it will do a male soldier, for example, 99% of the time, whereas there is 25% of female soldiers in Latvian army, for example, and it's more or less the same proportion in many other armies. So you have to be the one who thinks critically about this, because AI will not be great at that. On the other hand, for example, there was a recent scandal where Gemini engineers have put certain safeguards to increase diversity of the outputs, but they have cranked it up to 11. And now, if you ask it, like, can you show me a Nazi soldier from 1940s? Those Nazis will be black more often than not,
and female.
And often female, sometimes Asian, and so on. If you ask it, like, can you show me a medieval knight from Germany in 11th century, that might be an Asian woman really easily. Show me, a pope.
It will be a lady.
It will be a lady of. That with makeup, for example, from modern times, and like it's crazy what they've done, and people were really made a lot of fuss about this. Of course, conservatives hated that. Progressives also are a little bit embarrassed by that, because obviously this is where diversity or DEI thing kind of took over the whole common sense thing. And so, you have to be really critical about that. And then AI will be biased in any way, and rather unpredictably. Then copyright, big AIs, they typically have certain precautions when you ask them, hey, can you say something in the voice of Arnold Schwarzenegger, or Donald Trump, or Joe Biden, it will tell you, well, those people have rights to their own voices. I'm not going to do that, but other models will happily do that and clone voices. Voice cloning is an amazing technology. I've used that, and you can clone anyone's voice if you have access to like an interview online of that person. But again, you cannot do that without copyright. So if you thought that your next course will be narrated by Morgan Freeman and that's free.
Not really.
Not
really.
Well,
You're infringing the copyright.
It kind of is, but it's also illegal. Same thing with images. For example, if we go back to those videos, probably those videos were generated based on a number of works of other authors, and it's still an ongoing question of where that line should be drawn. Because I, as an artist, I also look at other artists' work. I try to copy them. And this is how I learn, this is how I create new. Essentially, anything that I, as an artist or a creative person, produce is based on everything that I've seen in my life that I haven't produced myself. So is it okay for AI to do exactly the same thing? On the other hand, if you ask AI, hey, can you do an illustration in this style of a specific author? It will do that easily. So I understand why that author might be kind of pissed off. And it's already happening, for example, with book illustrations, because there are like famous book illustration artists, like cover artists, which have been copied before, but now they are copied at scale for free, and that's a huge thing for them.
Same thing for text, actually. And I mean, there are those lawsuits by, I think it was the New York Times and some other journals that sued that because they saw that the output of AI, of essentially ChatGPT, I think it was, is actually copying stuff from their articles, and they can go back and say that this comes from here or this comes from there. So it's not only pictures, and I think we're using text 95% of the time in the corporate world, I mean, through those AI tools. So we have to train people on that. They have to understand that it might be
if you're writing, if you ask AI, hey, can you do me a course outline for this particular topic, and it does an outline, and that outline is exactly like an outline of a course that already exists and has been written by someone, are you infringing that copyright? Are the engineers of AI infringing that copyright? Or is it all fine? That's a big question. Then accountability, that's kind of the other side of the coin, where if you write something with AI, you have to tell that you have created this with AI for a number of reasons. Well, first of all, a lot of people will say, well, it's fake. For example, if you create a picture of someone, remember there are pictures of a Catholic Pope in very cool like Balenciaga jackets and whatnot.
That's
it was
how
very
all
cool.
Started.
Yes. But then probably if you're publishing this, you have to say somewhere that it's actually an illustration. You've created this artificially, or even though it looks perfectly like a photo. Because again, that was like obvious, but you can do unobvious things, with like war photography, for example, and just like should you disclose photoshopped work? And in journalism, you have to disclose your Photoshop work. So another part, in certain jurisdictions in the United States, some judges are demanding that lawyers sign a special affidavit. Stating that everything that they have submitted to the court as part of the case files is either written by them, or if it's written with AI, it has been fully read through by them, and they kind of take accountability, like they are accountable for every word that is written, because otherwise it will be able to you will be able to, first of all, flood courts with endless amount of paper, and if it says something wrong, is it like a good defense to say, well, I haven't written this, like AI wrote this? And then what do the judge, like, will they say, well, but you submitted it, but
so you're liable.
But you're liable. But then you never said that it's yours. So to prevent that, they are forcing now both sides of a trial to really underwrite every paper that is produced, even if it's produced with AI, because obviously legal industry is written with AI, for a good thing. And the governance, meaning that you have to have certain rules and policies inside your company. If you already have them, then the question of how AI is compatible with them. If you don't, then how do you govern AI usage in your company or in your organization? That's a big question. If you don't have that, you have to do it. If you have that, you have to train people on that. So it has to be part of this pillar. All right, we'll wrap up with the final pillar now, and that's future of work, which again can be, even in short form, probably like a topic for a few hours on its own. But essentially, if you are writing this course again about AI literacy for your employees, I would touch on such things as impact on employment. It's a worry for a lot of people that they will lose their jobs, right? We can discuss whether this will happen or not. We have examples from the past, not even very old past, even recently. For example, as computers replaced typewriters, did typewriting as a job, was it gone? Yes. Was it fast? Yeah, it was gone pretty fast.
Yeah.
But do we have millions of homeless typewriting women wandering the streets looking for food?
Yeah.
With their strong fingers, and I wasn't around in the 70s and 80s when it happened, but I haven't heard about that at least.
Yeah.
So they did find some other jobs, right? They reskilled, and there was enough time for a transition and so on. Although some people probably did lose their jobs and just retired and so on. Same thing, for example, with computer-aided design. When you think about it, before computers, if you make a drawing of a house, just think about even your own house or your own flat. If you have a drawing of that from the top, from every side, and then specific elements like kitchen equipment, if you have a drawing of that, and based on that, it's really technical, because everything has to be built based on that, produced, milled, turned, stamped based on that. Imagine now you have to switch something, you have to switch the positions of your dishwasher and your fridge, for example. What happens? It means that every drawing has to be redrawn. You have to go into the top view and switch that. You have to go into the side view and switch that. You have to go into the detail view and switch that. You have to redo all the text that describe that. And if you had copies of that, how do you make those copies? Well, they were made by hand because the copying machines were not precise enough for that. That was a huge amount. We had thousands of people in big open spaces just drawing those technical drawings for years. And then with computers, you change one thing, it changes in absolutely every copy, view, or model of whatever you're building. Is it a ship? Is it a plane? Is it a computer or your house? And it's just essentially one click, and it changes everything. And then you print out new copies. And it was worse than with typewriters, because the change was more drastic. The people's skills were less transferable. And still, we don't have gangs of engineers roaming the streets doing that. Same thing, with people who were, producing paper maps, for example, when Google came about. Did they go out of business? No, they adapted. We can go back to car replacing horse and whatever. So you have to talk about this. Actually, one thing as an economist that I wanted to add is that whenever something like that happens, the effect is not that everyone loses their job. The effect is that the service becomes really, really cheap, right? So previously, to do a drawing of your house would take 10 people 2 months, and that would cost you thousands. Now it takes one guy a week, and it costs way, way less. So which means more people can afford that. Previously, you only do that for bigger projects and so on, or for example, if you hire an illustrator to do a poster for your band, for example, that you started with your neighbors in the garage, then to do that, it would be really, really expensive and a long time, and you wouldn't do that. You probably do something by hand. Now you can do a computer poster, just go online, and, like a guy from Philippines will do it for like $5 and like super easy, or maybe you can just generate it using AI or something. So it becomes super cheap, so everyone can afford that. So demand goes up, which creates more employment in that industry. So it might be that we will have a lack of skilled labor in those new industries. So the potential for reskilling will not just be there so that everyone can reskill, but you will also need to skill into this industry more and more and more people, just like with programmers, for example, right?
Yeah.
As programming became easier with all the modern tools and languages and development environments, everyone now can afford a software developer or 200 or 20,000, and the demand for that has grown exponentially. So this is what's going to happen. But anyhow, again, like I said, 5 hours for that.
Yeah.
So adapting to change. We covered the emerging job roles. Again, there will be some job roles which did not exist before, and you have, as an HR person, you have to be aware.
Prompt writers.
Prompt writers, prompt engineers.
Or engineer. And then there will be prompt architects.
Yes, of course.
As always.
So people who actually write those smart prompts for AI to respond to with quality stuff, and so on. And then I think, if you're building this course internally, you have to talk about industry specifics. If you're in banking, in healthcare, in finance, in manufacturing, or in retail, how that affects your actual future of work inside your industry. So that's pretty much it. We ran a little bit out of time. I didn't think it would happen. One last kind of bonus note is that I think you have to talk, and we have to talk about the role of human creativity. A lot of people are kind of scared about what's coming. And will AI replace my job? Will it replace my social life? Will it replace me in the lives of others? And generally, I think that the role of human creativity cannot be understated and will remain there. And for that, I will show you one picture, or actually it's two pictures from the same movie. Do you know the movie? Type in chat if you know the movie. And I have to ask it, like maybe 20 years ago, I wouldn't have to ask it, but now I probably have to.
Matrix.
Yes, this is Matrix. Do you know what's going on there? So I will tell you, these are little life pods, and inside them are humans hibernating, and they are being used by the evil machines, AI machines, for what? They're being used as what? If you've seen the movie. Batteries. That is correct. And that is also absolutely wrong because it makes no sense. Why would you have humans as batteries, not cows? Cows are bigger. Why would you keep them kind of entertained inside that virtual matrix world?
Yeah.
Instead of just having them function as a vegetable? It's silly. But what was actually, like, if you read the original script for the Matrix, they were kept in that state because of their creativity. Machines used the random creative spark of genius of humans to feed their own models, because that's actually one of the actual problems right now. If you start training your language models like ChatGPT on output from the same language model, it goes crazy real soon. Like, you can compare it to inbreeding, more or less. It goes haywire real quick. So you have to keep feeding it things that are created by real humans in real world with real creativity. So, and that was the premise of the Matrix. This is why AI machines kept humans around in a conscious state, in a simulated world where they could be creative and so on. And then at the last point, the studio said, well, it was 1998. They said, well, that's kind of like too complex of an idea. And can we just, tell that they're being used for power? And the Wachowskis, they said, well, that's stupid. And the studio said, well, have you seen our public? And then they forced them to switch this to batteries instead of this human, which makes no sense. But no one cares. It's still one of the greatest movies ever.
Yeah.
So yeah. So if we take one idea from that, is that human creativity is absolutely not to be replaced by the machines, and the machines cannot survive and keep being useful without human creativity and original input. So don't worry, we as a race will keep carrying on for the foreseeable future. If we learned anything from Hollywood, it's always right. So yeah. So yeah, that's it for today. Do subscribe to Intel Learning channel. Just Google YouTube Intel Learning. You'll find that. There's a ton of things, including AI stuff and other stuff. Do stand by for the announcement of our next breakfast. It's going to happen on the 22nd of March in 2 weeks.
Yep.
And we'll announce the topic real soon. So stay tuned, and thank you so much. And by the way, why this picture? If you want to guess, email me why this picture for the third episode. Now you know. For the third episode of AI Breakfast.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.